Okay, thank you for both coming to rehearsal tonight. Both looking very happy to be here at like
midnight.
12:30.
12:30.
So, just a quick interview for the blog. Any thoughts you have on getting Sam? Amy.
Oh goodness. Well, my thoughts on getting Sam.
Or on your character?
I think it's a pretty, not difficult character for me to identify with. I think it's a pretty modern predicament, especially like with all of like the text messaging and phone stuff that's involved. Of like now there's so many ways to be emotionally indirect with people, and like I think that's kind of a charming aspect of the scene of like, oh, I'm only gonna call this person at a certain time, you know, or like I think it's, I don't know, and I also I don't know, I personally identify with the idea of being a little bit older and like you sort of get way too excited about perhaps every possibility that comes your way, and then you know you end up feeling like, what was I thinking?
So Natalya, tell us a little bit about the relationship between the two characters from your point of view.
Well, I think that the relationship is really believable. I feel like I've had this conversation with girlfriends, even though this predicament has never happened to me. But I feel like just like the language of like women discussing their relationships is really accurate, and like the reactions, the sort of like jovial like back and forth in the beginning, and the concern about the sort of competitive concern actually is very true to life. I mean, I know I feel sometimes like my friends' concern about relationships, it's a little bit more complex than it seems on the surface. Like there's a little bit of like jealousy maybe, or like like personal past hurt that enters into it. So I think that it's easy to identify with both characters and to like identify with their situation. It's just
So you've played Manny before. Tell us a little bit about your process of getting into Melly's head.
Getting into Melly's head. Well, it's so similar to my head. It like almost like doesn't feel like that much of a stretch. Getting into Melly's head. I mean, I guess like she's a little more spunk than I do. Like I would never propose a revenge scheme. So I kind of like that she's assertive in that way and like kind of fearless.
Do you really think it's a revenge scheme though?
I kind of do. I mean, I don't know if she actually followed through on it, but I like the idea that like, you know, almost immediately after like being hurt, her like response is like spunky and assertive, because that wouldn't be mine at all. I mean, I would sort of crumple, I think. But she's like, you know, gonna. I mean, at least I think initially that it's genuine. That she's like, okay, well, now that we figured this out, let's do something about it.
And
I think that's kind of charming.
Amy, what do you think about the difference between the two characters? Any thoughts there?
I mean, I think it's the age thing has like comes out in the scene and is pretty true to life and pretty meaningful. My character clearly is a little bit more jaded and probably seems to have a little bit more invested in this particular guy. Maybe because she's older, maybe she's thinking about marriage, maybe she's thinking about like, I'm not 22 anymore, like, I'm tired of sleeping with a bunch of jerks, like, I thought this was the guy. It's only been a month, but I thought this was the guy. And I think that's kind of a poignant feeling that yeah. I had such a bad day yesterday, I have no idea. I'm sorry, I'm degenerating.